Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the formal complaint to the College of Physicians and Surgeons against Dr. Michel Maridao, the director of the Clara Health Center, the medical center in Meteghan, Nova Scotia, um, and we're going to get right into it right now. So I am submitting a formal complaint against Dr. Michelle Maridao regarding her professional conduct in prescribing birth control without fully disclosing its post-fertilization effects. This constitutes medical negligence resulting in the wrongful death of my unborn children and a failure to obtain informed consent. It is well documented in medical literature that hormonal birth control does not always prevent fertilization. In many cases, it allows conception, but prevents the newly formed human life, already possessing unique DNA, from implanting in the uterine lining, effectively causing his or her death. This abortifacient effect is a critical piece of information that should have been disclosed to patient. So what does that mean? Well, let's talk a little bit about the fertilization process. Well, you got the sperm and the egg process here, and the very lucky sperm will get into the very wonderful egg here, and a very beautiful baby will be born. When? When will the baby be? When does conception happen? Well, does it happen like the people want you to believe when it implants into the uterine endometrial lining? Well, no, the uterine lining here is it's not right the where the life begins. So the life begins, of course, way over here, right, when the sperm meets the egg. And I was the I was at this stage when I was 1 day old, or 1 minute old, or one second old. This is the a baby right here. All right, so this is a baby, and there is a unique DNA, 50% of the mother, 50% of the father, and I mean, this is just basic biology. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to disagree. But see, the problem is they have backed us up. No, no, no. This is when the pregnancy actually occurs, when the cells are attaching to the uterus. No, of course not. I mean, there's no reasonable person that's going to conclude that, that's just not true. I mean, but I mean, this is the basis. They're going on a false basis to be able to push these types of birth control. And see, the problem is that this baby is you know has a is fully viable baby. I mean, this is a real life baby, and I mean, this is the point, that it will die due to these the this this is a IUD. It's called an IUD. Now, this kind of IUD here, it does not prevent pregnancy 100% of the time, and sometimes, yeah, sometimes it does, right? So, and they even admit, I mean, everybody knows this, but it's just that to connect two and two together. So the hormonal IUD prevents pregnancy by thickening cervical mucus, thinning the uterine lining, and sometimes stopping ovulation. Sometimes. So what does that mean? That means that other times, the times that it does not stop ovulation, right, the sperm will meet the egg, right? The sperm will be meeting the egg, and the baby will be conceived. After the baby is conceived, it will then be, killed by this type of, type of, it's not a drug. It's not even a medication. It's certainly not a medicine. It's a bordering the witchcraft or some sort of thing, but it's certainly so see, this is abortifacient, and that is the correct word here. We see this word over here, right? Where did we see that? This abortifacient effect is a critical piece of information that should have been disclosed to patients. All right, let's continue. So Dr. Doe had a clear duty of care to provide full and accurate medical information by failing to inform patients of these life-ending consequences. She violated this duty, directly resulting in the destruction of human life without my knowledge or consent. This is a profound ethical and medical breach that requires urgent investigation and accountability. A remedy could include a formal apology, as well as a full investigation into Dr. Dell's practices to determine whether she has misled other patients in a similar manner. In the event that she has prescribed this to others, the information should be made available to them without delay to prevent further deaths. Eh? Yeah. So the deliberate withholding of critical medical information, especially when it results in the loss of human life, is a profound ethical violation. A newly conceived human being, even at the blastocyst stage, is not a mere cluster of cells, but a unique living individual with inherent dignity and the right to life. To prescribe a drug that prevents implantation, thus ending that life, without full disclosure, is nothing short of medical negligence resulting in death. This is not an abstract issue. It's the quiet, unacknowledged destruction of irreplaceable human lives, carried out under the guise of healthcare. And that's a very important part. Right? This is an irreplaceable human life. I mean, there's no other baby. Like, for example, I look at my baby, and I just, this is she was is completely irreplaceable. I could never, in a million years, replace this wonderful baby that that me and my wife share 50%, right? It's a 50% thing. I'm the father. I'm 50%. This DNA is 50% of my DNA. I mean, this is just, there's going to be some progress in medical science here. I mean, this is just anyway. We'll see the answer here in a minute. It's quite something here. That any physician sworn to protect life. I don't know about that. They get this Hippocratic oath, which is a pledge to pagan deities and all this stuff. We're not going to get into that, or maybe we should. I mean, maybe we should read the oath that they take, because it's quite. Uh, Maybe it explains a little bit why they're doing such a thing. So any physician would knowingly participate in such an act without informing those directly affected is an egregious breach of trust. It is horrifying that so many lives are lost this way, unrecognized and uncounted, simply because the truth is conveniently ignored. So the failure to disclose, acknowledge, and respect the humanity of these lives is not just a failure of medicine, it's a failure of morality itself. And I want you to see the answer here that we got here. This is a very nice dismissal. It's an incredible dismissal. All right, so and then it says, upon review, Dr. Dow has taken your concern into. No, she didn't. She made a summary dismissal of the whole thing. Dr. Dow has taken your concern into consideration, and it has been concluded that Dr. Dow has never prescribed any form of birth control to yourself. We will consider this issue resolved on our end. Can you imagine such an answer? Can you imagine such an answer to such a formal complaint that it has been worded, there's not any kind of problems with my argument. There's no logical problems here. This is a well-formed complaint in English and in French. I did translate it in French to just to give it a little bit more gravity. I mean, to give the situation a little bit more gravity. I mean, and it's extreme. I mean, I don't think it can become, a graver situation. I don't actually believe it can. I mean, this is a level 10 situation here. So when I said, I see that you have said this, but due to the nature of your refusal, this raises an entirely new matter. You said it has been concluded that Dr. Dow never prescribed any form of birth control to yourself, which creates a new and unavoidable issue in terms of lack of accountability and transparency. Even now that the correction has been made, I did not include. I just said, well, of course. I mean, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the mother of the children. And I've corrected that. But they still, even with the correction, they still refuse to mediate and all that private mediation. So even now that the correction has been made, I didn't include that in the video. Sorry for that. But I just said, the only thing I said was, of course, it's not for me. It's for the mother. I don't believe that. Anyway, I'll explain that in a minute. It's clear that this is an illogical and inadequate statement, a refusal for private mediation. This is not medication, this is mediation. So a refusal for private mediation was made. So you refuse to schedule a private mediation, even knowing full well that this response from the doctor serves not to answer the content of the complaint, but to dismiss the matter entirely. The dismissal is based on the flawed reasoning that since the prescription was not made to the father, then the entire complaint can be summarily disregarded, which is not true or logical. I am quite alarmed at this response, and the new issue that this has created, and it has, and it's created a whole entire new issue where, of course, I mean, I guess it could be expected, but I mean, it's such such a blatant display of cowardice that I couldn't. Well, I guess it could be expected. It certainly could be expected. But it was clearly stated that the sperm would meet the egg and fertilization would occur. I mean, that's clearly stated in my complaint. The endometrial lining was unnaturally affected by the birth control prescription given to the mother of my children, causing the death of the child. I did not explicitly say that it was given to the mother of the children in the complaint, but as it was so evidently clear that it would not have been, right? It was so evidently clear that it would not have been, or it would have been, sorry, it would have been given to the mother of the children. It was so evidently clear that it would have been. Um, I felt no need to explicitly say so. So what am I saying here? I'm saying like it's so obvious. I mean, this is so obvious that why would I even say that in the complaint? There's no need of me saying that in the complaint, right? So the idea that I have no right to complain as I have not been prescribed birth control as a male is flawed, as the child who has died shared 50% of my DNA. This answer is inadequate and quite challenging to grasp as to what was the mindset of the doctor when she wrote this. Okay. I would ask for the third and final time to revise and schedule a private mediation, but she did, of course, refuse. So because the correction will be sufficient, and it certainly is sufficient to merit a reconsideration of the refusal. I mean, this is a valid concern, and do you think they were able to even respond to this? No, they completely just ignored it. It's quite telling. I mean, so all right, so this is the finally we're getting into it, and this is the official complaint. Now, this is the official complaint to the College of Physicians of Nurses of Nova Scotia, and this is, of course, the complaint here. So I'm filing a formal complaint against Dr. Dow, Michelle Marie Dow, for medical negligence and failing to provide informed consent regarding the post-fertilization effects of hormonal birth control. It is a well-documented scientific fact that such drugs do not always prevent fertilization, but prevent implantation, resulting in the death of an already conceived human life. Okay? By omitting this critical information, Dr. Dow denied patient the ability to make a fully informed decision. See, that's the thing. I mean, if she was going to say, this doesn't prevent ovulation all the time, and it actually, kills the baby, do you think that a whole bunch of people would be, actually purchasing, giving money for this? And there's a money thing. I mean, there's birth control is not free. I mean, you're gonna pay money for this birth control thing. You're going to pay money to kill your own child. I mean, it could not be more egregious. It could not be more egregious. I mean, so anyway, this is violating ethical and medical standards. It really is a crime. Furthermore, when I raised this concern, the response from her office did not address the substance of my complaint, but instead dismissed it on the flawed basis that I, as the father, was not the direct recipient of the prescription. This refusal to acknowledge the legitimate loss of human life and the lack of transparency in addressing the issue is deeply concerning. I request a full investigation into Dr. Dow's practices and demand accountability for the failure to provide truthful medical information with life and death consequences. All right. So we do have to go, but I will keep you informed when I get dismiss. This is certainly going to be dismissed. All right, this is going to be dismissed because this is certainly not designed for truth and justice. It's designed to make a blanket immunity for this type of serial mass killing and all this stuff. It's truly scary. Right. It's truly scary. All right, we gotta go. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.